Throughout history, there has been quite a few mass hysteria cases, and they are still happening today. The problem is they are very hard to control, and they are even harder to prevent. When a group of people get into these psychosis events, it can be very hard to identify physical causes and requires testing and investigation. Mass hysteria usually starts in the mind, but it can start to cause physical distress. Today I talk about 5 mass hysteria cases that even to this day, some of these cases are just not able to be explained. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, well, I'm certainly not going to be sitting here saying to you that Kamala Harris was the better candidate. She's a fucking idiot. But I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in these videos. Now, I like anything to do with scary facts, true crime, paranormal, aliens, conspiracies, any of that good stuff. And I love to draw, so I like to combine all of that into these videos to hopefully bring you a unique experience. Now, if you'd like to support me in any way, shape or form, I do have a Redbubble store where you can purchase the prints from these videos, and I also have an Etsy store where I make felt toy patterns and you can download them and you can make horror characters from movies, TV shows, and I have my own designs on there as well. Supporting me in these forms allows me to be able to pay my electricity bill so I can have the aircon on in Queensland here because it's so fucking hot. Try living in Queensland here in Australia. The humidity is nearly 100% and I'm a shiny, greasy mess. I don't like it. Now, with that being said, let's just get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing so I can get out of this hot room. Did you know you could dance yourself to death? This is what allegedly happened in Strasbourg, France in 1518. On the 14th of July 1518, a woman named Miss Trofea just started dancing in the street of Strasbourg uncontrollably as she stepped outside of her home, and she danced continually for a week. She apparently was not playing any music at all, and there was no music near her for her to be dancing to. Some people that watched her ended up joining her, and a few days later there was roughly 30 people all dancing in the streets with her. This kept continuing day and night, and by August 1518 there was around 400 people that had contracted this quote-unquote dancing plague hysteria, and all dancing in the streets in trance-like states. The city even decided to get a band in to play music for the people to dance to, but it wasn't long until the dancing marathon took a dark turn. People just couldn't stop dancing, and some started to get that exhausted that they either passed out or died from a heart attack or stroke, but people still kept dancing well into September, which it did indeed start to back off then and stop, but it was 2 months of continuous dancing that no one could explain. This well-documented case had quite a few theories about what happened to the people. One theory was that it was a stress-induced hysteria caused from famine and disease, as this was happening at the time that the dancing started. Second theory is that it was a religious cult doing ritualistic dances to the divine. Third theory is that townspeople were poisoned by ergot, which is a toxic mold that grows on rye, and when it was made into bread, people ate it and had hallucinations and spasms resembling dancing. Fourth theory is that these people were possessed by demons due to their hot blood from dancing. This wasn't the only incident in history either. It also happened in Germany and other parts of the Holy Roman Empire at the time, but no deaths were recorded. Did these people succumb to the paranormal, or were they suffering from a toxic dose of mold? What do you think? In 1938, a 23-year-old Orson Welles caused absolute mass hysteria with a freakishly real-sounding radio broadcast. Just before Halloween, on the 30th of October 1938, Orson was at his radio show called Mercury Theatre on the air when he decided to do a modern-time radio adaptation of the H.G. Wells thriller War of the Worlds from 1898. Orson read his story in such a manner that made it feel real with realistic news bulletin reporting style, making people listening believe that aliens were invading New Jersey from Mars and cities were being destroyed. But Orson did happen to say at the beginning of the radio broadcast that it was a work of fiction, but anyone who tuned into the radio later and missed that crucial detail went into panic mode and caused mass hysteria across America. The whole thing felt so real that people did mistake it for a real news broadcast and believed it was the end of the world, with people gathering weapons and fleeing their homes, committing suicide and causing stampedes. Phone lines began to jam with people ringing in to find out more, and some even called the police, with them turning up to the CBS studio to find out what was going on. Orson and his team faced major backlash over it and was even threatened with lawsuits, but investigations found that Orson had done nothing wrong, but future measures were taken to ensure that this never happened again. On a hot English summer's day back in 1965, over 300 young girls fainted, which ended up being labelled the Blackburn fainting hysteria case. There was girls from St Hilda's Girls' School who were all waiting for Princess Margaret to greet them at the cathedral grounds at their assembly, but she was delayed by fog for over 90 minutes from her expected arrival time. But after nearly 3 hours of waiting, some of the kids started dropping like flies, one by one. They were passing out and no one knew why. The weather was to blame for the kids passing out, but the very next day it happened all over again. 85 girls in one day had passed out and needed to be taken to hospital, but the ambulances started to be inundated because one lot of students would pass out and then be taken away, and then a new wave would happen and they couldn't be attended to straight away. The weird thing was, it was only girls passing out. None of the boys seemed to be affected. 35 girls were kept overnight in hospital to be monitored. An investigation into the incident saw the school closed until further notice. The buildings were tested, checked, water samples taken, and food from the tuck shops was sent away for testing. Theories ran crazy over what exactly happened. One theory was that the days were too hot and the girls didn't have water or food and just passed out from that. Second theory was fumes from nearby factories had caused it and the most susceptible kids were affected by it. Third theory is that aliens did it and caused something to happen to the kids. Fourth theory was some of the girls were worried about polio, as it had claimed 50 victims that summer, so it may have been a psychological effect of worry after the kids saw each other passing out, which caused them to panic and pass out. But why was it only the girls affected? To this day, no one knows what caused this to happen, but this isn't an isolated incident. In 2008, a school in Tanzania went into hysteria when their female students started fainting. 20 girls lost consciousness and no one knows why, other than just chalking it up to a mass hysteria. Other places that have had mass fainting cases are India, Mexico, and Kuala Lumpur. None of these were ever solved either. Just imagine laughing so much for hours on end with absolutely no reason for it. If you don't know, I did a video on people laughing themselves to death. Check it out in the top right corner, but that in itself would be enough to terrify anyone into laughing for long periods of time, let alone having it supposedly uncontrollably happening to you. This is what happened in Tanzania on the 31st of January 1962, starting in the Kashasha village, all-girls school with 1,000 students in the end being affected by uncontrollable laughter. It's alleged that 3 girls started laughing and couldn't stop, and this quickly spread to the other students and became extremely disruptive. The whole of the 159 students became affected over a few weeks, with laughing lasting from a few hours up to 16 days non-stop. This then spread to other communities and schools with the closure of 14 schools. Students experienced hysterical laughter, crying, rashes, flatulence and distress, followed by restlessness, pain, fainting, running around and sometimes violence. Studies showed that laughing for more than 20 seconds can run the risk of you passing out or having respiratory issues due to disruptive breathing, and some of these people were laughing for weeks on end. It took another 6 to 8 months for the hysteria to die down, and people's laughing fits became shorter and shorter, but this is still an unsolved case to why this happened. Some theories flung around were from stress and anxiety, as these things can trigger uncontrollable laughter, and some sort of disease that may have targeted the nervous system part that controls laughter. Once again, this was something that mostly seemed to attack girls, just like the fainting incident, and it also only attacked young people between the ages of 12 to 18, not adults. Pokémon is such a much loved anime amongst a lot of kids, but an episode in 1997 sent over 600 children to the emergency room in Japan. On the 26th of December 1997, the 38th episode, called Electric Soldier Porygon in Season 1, had a scene where Ash and his friends needed to check on the Pokeball and go inside a machine, and Pikachu stops a wave of missiles with an attack that caused explosions with rapid flashing lights that filled the whole TV screen, and it caused photosensitive epileptic seizures in children across Japan. While some kids experienced blurred vision, headaches, dizziness and nausea, others experienced seizures, blindness, convulsions and unconsciousness. Roughly 310 boys and 375 girls were taken to hospital by ambulance. While the majority recovered on their way to the hospital, 2 were hospitalized for more than 2 weeks. The whole incident was referred to as Pokémon Shock by the media. When studied, it appeared that the cartoon caused symptoms that related to mass hysteria more than actual seizures, and most of the kids years later never had another seizure again. After the incident, Pokemon was pulled from the screens for 4 months, and the episode was also taken out and never aired again in Japan or any other country, and they basically had to rehash how they did future ideas and episodes. Mass hysteria is a powerful drug, and so is the power of suggestion, and seems to be able to get inside people's heads and cause them to replicate what is going on around them. And I wouldn't even rule out some sort of virus or toxic component being spread by people that is designed to target a certain age or gender. Sounds far-fetched, but you can't tell me that our governments and other anonymous organizations don't know how to do this. We are being lied to and kept in the dark with a lot of things on this planet. So let me know what your thoughts are on these cases today. Just leave a comment down in the comment section below. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this video today is not one of my favorites. I don't know if I like this one or if I hate it. I definitely, actually, I'll rephrase that. I really don't like it at all. I do probably really dislike this more than anything. I don't know, it's a weird one. It's really fucking weird, and yeah, I don't know how I feel about this illustration at all. So yeah, I don't know, but it's basically just like this creature that is just split, and they've got no body from their waist down, and because they're in such hysteria, they've like popping heads out from its extended neck. So the main head is the one on the far left, the bigger one, and then like because of the hysteria, there is like a head popping out the top, and there's a head popping out the side that's like spitting blood because of the of the absolute shock and hysteria that this thing's going through, and then its guts is just coming down, just floating around, just spilling out from the body from hysteria. Yeah, I know it's weird. It's a strange one, so it's just what my brain come up with, and I just don't feel I executed this one quite where I wanted to go with it. So anyway, that is it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Dislike it, I really couldn't give two shits what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me. And hopefully I see you guys in the next one. Bye.